On a holiday to Northern Ireland in 2019, I stumbled on An Dún Mór, the great fort at Fairhead. From a distance, the hill fort of An Dún Mór is quite imposing and must have been quite a well-defended fortress. Using the natural landscape to its advantage, it's spectacularly situated on a basalt volcanic outcrop, with extensive views across the Ballycastle Bay area. Dún Mór was a fortified residential fortress, most likely occupied around 800 AD to about 1300 AD. The ancient site has been excavated on two occasions, once in 1938 by Gordon Childe and once by a team from the Centre for Archaeological Fieldwork at Queen's University, Belfast. On this occasion, the university worked in conjunction with the Causeway Coast and Glens Heritage Trust, Northern Ireland. Childe excavations revealed that Dún Mór was divided into two main areas. A flat summit upon which the site's occupants lived and a leveled terrace beneath the summit, where supplies could have been stored. Unfortunately, these flat surfaces are not visible today. Gordon Childe's team had also discovered foundation footings on the terrace. Finding these footings, Childe knew a large stone wall would have enclosed the terrace. This would have given extra security for the fortress and allowed wooden posts to be secured in place to hold up a roof of some kind. Childe's team found a stone gatepost at the terrace entrance, evidence of small-scale iron workings for manufacturing shale bracelets. From all this additional information, the team was able to sketch out an impression of how the fort would have looked. Several paved areas and stone hearths were uncovered, demonstrating that this would be the residential part of the site. Fragments of glazed and coarse broken pottery and pieces of a quern stone for grinding cereals were found. The team from Belfast found even more than Childe. They found fragments of a second rotary quern stone and undisturbed habitation layers. These layers were sampled to uncover evidence of the diet of the occupants and to provide material for radiocarbon dating. The dig also found new evidence that the fort was much older than the Anglo-Norman period and was a Gaelic dún associated with the Dalriata dynasty, who had tribal territory on both sides of the sea in Northern Ireland and Scotland. It was believed that the fort at Dún Mór was most likely a moat and bailey castle, built by the Anglo-Normans, who conquered much of the North Antrim briefly in the decades on either side of 1250. However, the artifacts found by both excavations demonstrate that while it may have been occupied during the Anglo-Norman era, it had older origins. For much of the early medieval period, circa 400 to 1169 AD, the northeastern corner of County Antrim was part of the Gaelic kingdom of Dalriata, Dalriada. This tiny kingdom extended its influence into Argyll in western Scotland, possibly around 400 AD. Carving out a kingdom on both sides of the Sea of Moyle would, in time, form the core of the later Scottish monarchy. It has been noticed by archaeologists that Dún Mór is, in its form and setting, closer to that of a Scottish early medieval fort than the more typical Irish Rath or Cashel fortress. When first constructed, the fort at Dún Mór likely was the residence of an influential member of the Dalriata, from where that person could dominate the entire Ballycastle area. It is uncertain if the site lay unoccupied for a time after its initial phase of occupation. Still, it was reoccupied during the 1200s, possibly by Anglo-Normans. I initially sought a filming location used in the Game of Thrones. I happened on this site while overhearing a conversation with two guys. This was when I started to read more about this ancient fort. It's quite an accessible and easy fort to find, and parking in the farmer's field is brilliant, but he charges you £3 per car.